Hi, I'm Esther from Stringendo, and this is a bowings and finger patterns help video for the violin part for All County. Please join us on All County Help Day, January 4th, Arlington High School. All right, so the first tricky bowing that you're gonna see is the up-up that happens in measure 1. So that's a hooked bowing, and you wanna make sure you stop the bow in between the two notes. Just a nice gentle stop. Now, that bowing, it happens again in measure 9 and 10, and then the next line, 13, 14, happens a few times. But in the second half of this piece, starting at measure 9, the up-up, that has a staccato marking on it. So it's still gonna be the up-up, same direction, but it's gonna be short and crisp now. So, just a little bit shorter in articulation. It's just the same rhythm, but sounds a little shorter. So that whole measure, like that, whereas measure 1 is a little bit more legato. Okay, next tricky bowing is gonna be 2 slurred eighth notes. So you're just combining 2 notes under 1 bow. So take a look at measure 2. You have the B, A, and it's just 2 notes in 1 bow. The next measure has it also. Those happen in a few different places. The next one are 2 16th notes slurred in 1 bow. It's the same thing, just twice as fast. Take a look at measure 4. Next one. Last one. Okay, that whole measure. One more time. Okay, next you've got some separate 16th notes. So when you do the separate 16th notes, you want to use a tiny amount of bow. This is in measure 7. A tiny amount of bow, and you want it to come mostly from the elbow, and you want to have a nice, flexible, loose wrist. So, it's mostly elbow. That way my bow can stay straight, and I don't need a lot of bow, maybe about an inch. So if I played measure 7 for you, again, one more time. Okay. Next, we've got 3 notes slurred, 2 16th notes, and an 8th note. That happens in measure 11. It's not too bad. It's very similar to the 2-note slur, and it's easy for you because it's just 2 fingers working for you at this time. That whole measure, again. Okay, next you have 4 16th notes slurred in a row. That happens in measure 15. I'm doing it slowly for now, and then we're gonna work it up. Make sure it's a low 2. You've got a whole step between your 2 and your 3, and then you're gonna use a 4th finger on this too. Okay, so you're gonna have another whole step right here between your 3 and your 4. It's a little bit of a stretch. Practice it slowly, and then eventually you get faster. That whole measure. Again. Again. Sorry. Okay, I think our last tricky bowing is gonna happen in, well, no, there are 2 more. It's the same rhythm, but 2 different bowing versions of this rhythm. So take a look at measure 6. You have that dotted 8th 16th note. I would put a 4 on that D in measure 6 for the dotted 8th note because you're on the G string anyways for beat 3. So stay on this string so you don't have an ugly string crossing, and just a tiny amount of bow. So that whole measure, like that. Now, the second to last measure of this has that same rhythm, except now it's slurred. It's so similar to just the 2 8th notes slurred. You just have to make sure that the rhythm is really tight. Okay, in terms of tricky fingerings, really quickly take a look at measure 3. 2 ways to do it. You can do an open A here, and then cross over for a high 3 on the G string. Or or you might want to use a fourth finger for that A. So now your 4 is down, and then your 3 goes right behind it. That version again. Okay, and the next measure, you want to make sure you use a fourth finger on that E. So you don't have a string crossing there. The next measure, measure 5, you have those B's, a B again, and then an A sharp. I would do a low 1 for that A sharp. And then I'd go back to a 1. So you just want to make sure that your 1 moves really nicely back and forth, kind of like a robot. You don't want it to be lazy. And make sure you don't do it from your wrist, right? It happens from that base knuckle right here, not from the wrist. So, again. Okay. Other tricky fingerings. The 16th notes we already talked about in measure 15. You're going to use a fourth finger there. And I think that might take care of all of the tricky fingerings. Okay, please join us on Saturdays for Stringendo, and we can have more fun in orchestra rehearsal.